Welcome to the Assessment, Property Tax, and Land Records webinar series. Today our topic for discussion is today's public engagement for assessors with ArcGIS. I'm Brent Jones on the Esri Land Records team. Today I'll be presenting with Jordan Miller, a key solution on the team as well, and he's out of our Minneapolis office. Our email addresses are here, so please don't hesitate to contact us after the webinar if there's anything we can do for you, or if you have additional questions that we didn't get a chance to cover today. At any time, if you have a question, feel free to submit it through the GoToWebinar window. We'll try to do our best to address your questions during and at the end of the presentation. I'll be pasting relevant links into the window throughout and monitoring the questions. Here's a quick look at the agenda for today. I'll begin with a quick overview of the ArcGIS solution for assessment, property tax, and land records, and then Jordan will give us an overview of the public engagement tools. We'll then spend most of our time with some demonstrations and answering questions. The Arcgis Platform has many capabilities delivering specific benefits to the assessor's office for parcel management, creating and editing parcels, value and exploratory analysis for assessment, visualization, trends and outlier detection, and public engagement. How assessors communicate with the public has changed and will continue to change as technology drives new methods and public expectation. How the public engages with government continues to follow suit and evolve. For example, 10 or even 5 years ago, we wouldn't have thought of making sure taxpayers could access assessment information on their phones. I just read one survey that said 70% of web searches are now from a mobile device. Mobile phones aren't just for deleting email anymore. This is really an exciting space where elected and appointed officials alike can make a big difference in the public's expectations and perceptions of your office. A couple more things I'd like to mention before passing over to Jordan. Please join our meetups. We have one for land records and one for assessors and GIS. The land records meetup focuses on parcel and recorder integration. The assessor and GIS meetup focuses on exploratory analysis, spatial analysis, dashboards, insights, mapping, and visualization for assessors. We'll also have a face-to-face meetup at the UC in July. It's Thursday at 11:30 a.m. this year. That's 30 minutes earlier than in the past for those of you that have been there before. Get there early because lunches go fast. We hope to see you there. For those that you have attended in the past, we have just verified that we do have a larger room this year, which is good news. We've been pretty packed in there in the past. Mark your calendars. Our next webinar will be on what's coming in parcel management, August 22nd. Summer will be wrapping up and it'll be time to get back to work, so mark this down. Remember to sign up even if you can't attend, and we'll get a recording out to you. Before I pass this over to Jordan, please fill out the survey after the webinar. This helps us shape these webinars, deliver to you the content that you're asking for. Now over to you, Jordan.
All right, thanks, Brent. Let me get my screen up here. All right, let's just double check. Okay, sounds good. Well, so the way I want to start off this presentation, before we really get into the solutions themselves or any of the technology that supports those solutions, I want to talk and I want to frame this up as really a solution-focused approach to public engagement in the assessor's office. So I've always felt like in order to really effectively present a solution, we need to have a solid understanding of, what the purpose of these solutions are. We could have the most sophisticated piece of technology out there, but if it really isn't solving a particular challenge or business need, then you're pretty much throwing spaghetti at the wall at that point. So really to better understand the purpose of the technology that we're going to discuss today, I'd like to start off with just discussing some of the really high level business goals, business challenges that we often see within the assessor's office, really in the context of public engagement. So first off, reducing appeals. Why is this important? Appeals take a lot of time. That can remove your workers from, going about their everyday work, and we all know that, we're very busy these days. Increasing public engagement. Now, the public are essentially our customers in local government. So there are a lot of expectations, especially with the rapid developments in how well we can access information quickly on our smartphones. And I mean, let's be honest, we're all connected at 24 hours a day. And when we need to know something, the first thing we do is either pull out our cell phone or our tablet and do a search. So it's important that we make sure that that information that is out there is reflecting your authoritative data. Increased transparency. Now, this can be required by some sort of statute or by your organization's initiatives. But why this is really important is, being able to be transparent with your information, your processes, really promotes a sense of, that fair and equitable assessment that you guys are responsible for. Promoting economic and social enterprise. So we all know that, a strong economic landscape is really vital to the strength of our communities. I mean, we can see a direct reflection in our schools, our public services, our roads, anything like that. So it's always important to have a strong and vibrant economy. So being able to provide any prospective business owners or developers to come in and really continue that growth and sustain a vibrant economic community is very important. So lastly, and I wanted to save this one for last, but to manage resources. And with this, I'm talking about time, money, and people. So I mean, it's no mystery that over the years, it's become imperative to really do more with less. And that's been a challenge facing all local government organizations. That's nothing new to that extent, but really to have the ability to execute on all these goals that I listed above with a limited budget and be able to keep pace with the shifts in technology, evolving staff backgrounds and needs, as well as that public demand they're all very substantial challenges. So I want to recap really quick. So, essentially, you guys are asked to do more with less, meet those public expectations, do it in a way that people will understand, all while providing a fair and equitable assessment. I mean, that sounds pretty simple, right? So the big question is how, and really I wanted to lay out those different those business goals and challenges to start to set up how we can start to do this, and then that's really the important part here. The best way to really conceptualize this platform with ArcGIS is to think about it as managing that information pipeline, and we can look at that in a couple of different ways, whether it's doing the traditional property characteristic data management, whether it is your parcel geometry data management, whether it is managing that information pipeline for what our internal staff use or our public is going to see. I mean, it's really it's a tool for all of that, and it's really can act as that glue to start to pull in your other system data. So that way we're effectively taking advantage of our GIS, which I'd say 9 times out of 10 most organizations already have access to. And it's really putting your best foot forward. So we're using your authoritative data to power those applications. We can also enhance those applications with that existing system data. And what I mean by this is it could be your Cama system to provide any context or property characteristics to go along with that parcel and ownership information. We could pull in other information types like tax, valuation, ancillary GIS data, or registry and recorder type data. So to get into the whole data construct here, the way we have this organized is it's pretty simple, right? We have points, lines, and polygons. points are going to represent different things like appeals, foreclosures, sales, property address, things like that. We have polygons for our parcels, and we have lines for our roads and whatnot. But the way we can start to associate real world features with those different geometries can really help us power these applications. And, you know, by and large, a lot of you have the ability to publish out these applications already. I know there's a high likelihood that a lot of you are very familiar with these types of these workflows, these concepts already. But what you should know is that you do have that capability to start to push out applications. And I think the major point that I want to drive home here is that we're living in a time now where we don't have to be a programmer anymore to be able to cook up these applications and get them out to the public. We have those tools at our fingertips through the Arcgis platform. We also have tools that's going to allow us to essentially create that landing page, that destination where we know we can route people to have access to our authoritative information and those purpose-built applications that are going to address those specific business challenges we talked about in the very beginning. So just to set just a little bit more context, and we'll start to get into the details of some of the different solutions, I want to provide you guys with the really the conceptual architecture of how we visualize the modern assessor's office to work in. So we have a system of record. That is our parcel management, that is our connected databases, that is that integration piece. And then we have the system of engagement. So that is through either ArcGIS Online or Portal for ArcGIS, where we can start to leverage these different solutions to enable people to access maps, applications, different data sets. And the idea here is to make sure that, you know, this can be accessed on any device. So we have solutions, and we have solutions that fit really a large portion of the traditional workflows that we see in an assessor's office. And we have these broken down into a couple of different buckets. So organized into value analysis, public engagement, and field operations, and we have solutions to fit each one of those different use cases. But today, I want to focus specifically on engaging with the public and what that looks like. So when we're talking about engaging with the public, it's important to know that those habits, those expectations, the types of people that are going to be accessing the data. I mean, generally, you know, when people are going to be accessing this data, they're going to do so because they have a question, they want to know something. So it's really important that when we think about that taxpayer or that potential customer who's going to come visit our site, is that we deliver them a solution that is focused on a very direct and purpose-built application. So let's get into that. So today, what I want to plan on showing you guys is about 7 different things. We're going to look at ArcGIS Pro. I want to show you guys some different tools in ArcGIS Pro that's going to enable you to quickly and effectively spin up these applications. Then I want to show you the tax parcel viewer, the My Tax Distribution, residential comp finder, assessment appeal, school locator, and lastly, I want to show you how you can really extend all these different applications and provide your constituents with a very valuable and beneficial tool through Hub. So with that, I'm going to get into the demonstration portion here. If you bear with me, ArcGIS Pro. Now, ArcGIS Pro, as many of you probably already know, but some of you may not, this is really the next evolution of the desktop experience for the ArcGIS Enterprise platform. This can be considered really the central nervous system or the control panel of a lot of the things that we're going to do, stemming from the data management side of things to the publishing and leveraging these different solutions. So I wanted to show you this really and with the intent of providing you guys a list of ingredients. Now I think it's beneficial to look at some of the different data types that we're going to be working with today and how they're really going to play a role. But also I want to introduce you guys to a really effective and valuable tool called the Solutions Deployment Tool. And as you can see in Arcgis Pro, some things are a little different. If you're used to working with ArcMap, we have that contextual ribbon, and some of our core tool sets are organized in the tabs up here. So if I go to the share, we can install this plugin. It's called the ArcGIS Solutions Deployment Tool. Now if I click that, what it's going to do is it's going to give me a couple of different options, either sign into an organization, deploy an ArcGIS solution, configure a solution, or load your data. So for the purpose of this demonstration, what I want to do is I want to click on deploy an ArcGIS solution. Now what we're going to be handed here is a list of a bunch of different solutions like you would see in solutions.arcgis.com. They're organized into those different categories, whether it be defense, electric, emergency management, so on and so forth. But today we're going to look at local government. So if I expand that tab, we're going to be presented with all the different solutions that can be found in our solutions for local government. Now there's a lot of them in here, but the intent is to be able to go ahead and find the solution that you're looking to deploy. So for this, we're going to take a look at, let's just say, public notification. Now if I click public notification and click deploy, what that's going to do is that's going to go through and configure the map, the web map, the application, and spin up all the necessary locations or repositories for that data to drive that application. So really what we're doing is we're taking this from a manual process, from the way we used to configure and deploy solutions, and starting to automate this. This is all done through Pro using this solution deployment tool. And it's a very effective tool to quickly spin up and deploy these different solutions in a timely manner. So what this is going to do is it's going through and it's publishing all the different items that need to get published, and it's pushing it right to whatever active portal that I have signed into. So for the instance of this, pushing this to ArcGIS Online. So this is a great tool. This is going to allow you to really effectively spin up these applications and get them configured for your organization really quickly. And that is always good news, especially when we're talking about not having a ton of time to dedicate to some of these different projects, or if we want to shut one down and spin one up based on a particular need, we can do that very quickly. So I'm going to take one step back and transition over to the web portion of this. So when we publish all this data, it begins to exist as either a hosted feature service, or we can tie into a direct connection to your enterprise geodatabase or file geodatabase, or whatever REST endpoint we want to set up to be able to power these applications. And I wanted to show everybody this web map so we can see the different data types that we're going to be working with for the remainder of this demonstration. So, it's very general, but there's a lot of data that lives within these general data sets that can provide our public audience with some really effective tools to help them make their decisions, much as we make our decisions internally as well. So here we have some point data with foreclosures, sales, and appeals. We have parcels tied in with property characteristics from our Cama system. And now, since we have this in a web format, we can start to think about deploying these as those specific solutions that I outlined a few slides ago. So I want to start off with the tax parcel viewer. Now, the tax parcel viewer I think this was probably one of the first, probably one of the first applications, GIS centric, that really hit the public audience. It was a big push to get these different applications up. Sometimes it was a very difficult process to get these stood up, but these have a long history in local government. But the thing that I want to illustrate with the tax parcel viewer is using these solutions, we can start to provide that context where somebody could enter their address or parcel ID number, do a search for that parcel ID, and start to directly tie into that associated information. We can also enable this application, and one point I do want to make before we go any further is that all the solutions that I'm going to be showing you today are purely out-of-the-box solutions. So what do I mean by that? These are solutions that our solutions team has configured. They have put together all the different interfaces for some of the pop-ups, some of the links, some of the extended tools, and they are fully supported. So if you guys are current on your maintenance, you guys will have access to these solutions, which are supported. So just to take a couple of steps back, we're talking about the tax parcel viewer. A lot of that same core technology that we're used to seeing in traditional tax parcel viewers, but this has been extended a bit with being able to indicate some different tax distribution percentages and where that those tax dollars are going. We can also enable this more information link, which will quickly download a PDF for that end user. And using a collection of Esri proprietary data, your property characteristic data, as well as your property ownership data, it will populate this report that end user can then download and print or save just to have handy and potentially answer any questions they may have. So the next application I'd like to show, there is a little bit of carryover from the tax parcel viewer. This is just intended to be that exploratory type tool where somebody could enter their address or parcel identification number and quickly access their tax distribution information. Now, this is important because in the early portion of this discussion, I was talking about increasing transparency and increasing public engagement. So this really checks all the boxes for those two categories by being crystal clear on where those tax dollars are going to. Very simple application. It can leverage either Esri base maps. It can use your own base map data if you have aerial imagery. These applications are highly configurable, which means that if you guys want to tweak these or extend them in any kind of way, you do have the opportunity to do so. These are just the out-of-the-box configurations, but what we're looking at here is essentially the parcel data set with a nice looking Esri base map tied in with some tax data. And really the beauty of all this is the sophisticated part of this is all being done behind the scenes, and that comes out of the box to give you this nice graphic pop-up to where the user can interact with that data. The next application I'd like to discuss is the residential comp finder. So for this application, and I guess it would help to add a little context here. So in the goals and the objectives of the assessor's office, we want to again increase transparency, reduce appeals, and just make a lot of those processes much easier, cut down on desk time, things like that. So one very effective way to reduce appeals is to make information available to where somebody can take a look at their property and quickly find comparable properties with recent sold prices associated to that. So for this, I'm going to type in a parcel ID number. We're going to drill down into that. We have a results within 1 mile, and we can see all the different properties within that specified search tolerance. And we can change this. We can specify this if we want it 1 mile or 15 miles or anything in between. But what that will do is return a list of all the different properties within that search radius that adhere to a specific filter. So maybe I know that my property was sold in the amount of $275,000, but I want to grab everything that's between $250,000 and $350,000. Year built between 1900 and 2018, and we can even specify if or what that structure type is, if you would like to extend that. So what we'll do, we'll just grab Cape Cod and I'll hit apply. And now I only have one comparable property, and I can click on that property and see the information associated with that property as well. So by doing this and by providing that conduit of information, this is going to allow people to, if maybe they disagree with the assessed value of their home, they can go through and search recently sold properties and start to get a better idea of where some of that assessment information is coming from, and build a case onto why that their property was assessed at whatever price. The next application, while we're on that thread, is in regards to being able to streamline the process for a assessment appeal. So this is using a piece of technology called Survey 123. This can exist as a public form that you can share out on your website. What this will allow that end user to do is to navigate to their property, give you some basic information, whether the residence is occupied by owner, parcel information number. And this form has a lot of smart features built into this. So depending on prior answers or depending on the outcome of a particular answer, it will advance you to either new questions. So if I click yes, it's going to give me this new question where it'll ask me to enter the parcel identification number, or if I don't, we can skip that question. We get some basic characteristics of the home, the reason for filing the appeal, contact information, address, so on and so forth. And then we have a signature block, which if you have a touch screen, you can fill this out. That's not really how I sign my name, but just to make the point, you can do a digital signature in that regard. Submit this. This will come back and be able to be interpreted through a dashboard. It's going to allow you to either provide that resident with information on why their property was assessed at a certain value. These applications could tie back into that residential comp finder, where you can demonstrate through previous sales or what other conduits of information you have available to you that you would typically provide that resident. You can quickly get them that information. So that's going to cut down on that countertop time. That's going to cut down on associated staff time. So the second to last application that I want to show you in our Assessor's Office public engagement solution stack is a school locator. And I'm going to spend just a minute talking about this before we really drill down into the aspects of what this application necessarily does. But a lot of these applications that I discussed, whether it be the tax parcel viewer, my tax distribution, residential comp finder, this can be used for existing residents, or it can be used for people who are possibly looking to move to a city or county and have questions about the surrounding area. It could be flood zone information. This could be school districts. If I move to this house, what school district is my kids going to be in? Is that where I want them to go to school? Things like that. you know, as Brent mentioned in the introduction, you know, I believe it was 70+% of people, you know, their first search is with their cell phone, and so many different aspects of what we do. Our first stop is in a virtual context, whether it be looking at a realtor site to see pictures of a house, or maybe it's a vacation, I want to Google pictures, or, you know, I'll be honest, I'm guilty of this. If it's a restaurant, I love seeing pictures of the food. So if they have good pictures. So, but the point I'm trying to make here is that people's first stop is generally through the web. And the more we can provide them with these tools to, you know, have a destination for them to come and land at, where they're going to have all this information at their fingertips, really provides a lot of effective tools for that that visitor. Same can be said here. We can type in this parcel ID number again, and oops, I went a little too far. I'm just going to click on that. Bear with me. So I can select on a location, and I can see what school district I am in now and which elementary school they would attend, middle school they could possibly attend, as well as high school they could attend. And you can get all that information. You can link to that school's website directly in this and answer any of those questions that prospective homeowner might have when they're moving to the area, or maybe it's a current resident thinking about exploring other options. So, you know, we've gone through a handful of these different solutions, and we've talked about some of the different things that they can do, some of the different pieces of technology that are built into these applications. But I want to focus on another aspect of the ArcGIS technology stack. It's really going to provide you with a very a powerful collection of tools to be able to create that destination. So what I'm talking about here is ArcGIS Hub. Now, if you haven't heard of ArcGIS Hub, I can give you a quick rundown of what that is. But ArcGIS Hub is going to be that landing page. Okay, it's going to be built around a specific initiative. So what I mean by initiative, an initiative could be, you know, public engagement. An initiative could be, you know, a clean city. You know, so it's really whatever your organization is building into their performance measures. So within the assessor's office, it could be public engagement. And what you're going to be provided with is a tool called Site Builder. Now, Site Builder is a component of Hub. What it's going to allow you to do, it's a very modular framework. And what you'll be able to do as a user is build out a page just like this with a lot of different tools in here. And I'll go through and I'll talk about some of these different tools. But then what the end user is going to see is just like what we're seeing right now. So we're going to see our initiative right here at the top of the page. We can brand this with our own icons, our own photographs. And within that, what we can do is we can start to provide a platform for anybody within our community to explore data or download that data. You know, really popular for civic engagement or those civic hackathons. We can embed our applications. So we just went through and looked at about 7 different applications within the ArcGIS for Assessor's Office public engagement stack, and we can embed those right in here. We can take a look at how that works. If I just click on that application that's embedded, that thumbnail right here, it's going to pull me into that residential comp finder. So as we start to navigate down, we're going to see a couple of different things. We have local narratives and we have community events. So I want to talk about community events a little bit. And what I mean by this is you can be enabled to embed a calendar of community type events. And when people sign up for that, they can be registered within the Hub site to receive emails or notifications from you guys as a governing body on important community events. Maybe it's we have some code compliance going on, or maybe we have a local cleanup day. It really can be pretty much anything. But where that becomes very effective is it provides you a direct link then for anybody who clicks to sign up for those events that you can indicate and share on your Hub site. It's going to allow them to track that event, and it's going to allow you to notify them. So that really starts to build out and enhance that piece pertaining to transparency, increasing public engagement, and promoting that economic and social enterprise. So before we start to wrap things up here, I do want to provide you guys a couple of different things to check out. So if you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend you go to solutions.arcgis. And if you would like to see any of the applications or pieces of technology that we discussed today, you can either click on the land records page or follow the link that I have in my slide. I will actually drop that in the chat window. And here we have it organized in a way where you can go through and see the different applications, whatever context it might be. So since we just talked about public engagement, we can go through and see all the different applications that we just spoke about with public engagement. The thing is, these are also all the same applications that you're going to be able to point and click to using the solutions deployment tool in Arcgis Pro. So this really provides you a great spot to go through and try some of these different applications, try some of these different solutions, and see if that's really going to fit your specific workflow, or if that's something that you want to pursue as an organization. It's a great way to go and try and click around and explore and make sure that this is something that you would like to pursue. With that, what I'm going to do, if you just bear with me for a minute here. Okay, we'll get that back up. So to recap, we talked about those different solutions. We talked about why those solutions were put together by our solutions team. But really, in effect, I want to close this off with those different goals and challenges that you guys are faced with, and talk about really the purpose behind these solutions. So if it's to reduce appeals or increase public engagement, increase transparency, promote economic and social enterprise, or to manage resources, this can all be done through managing that information pipeline, I think is the best way to put it. And if you can manage that information pipeline and you can leverage these off-the-shelf, out-of-the-box solutions that we have on solutions.arcgis.com, then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be provided with a platform that is fully supported. You don't have to spend a lot of time spinning these up. They are going to keep pace with those technology demands. And it's really going to provide you with some great tools that are going to really make that engagement with the public more effective. So next steps, what do we do from here? So we talked about enabling the public and the taxpayer, but really that's just a piece of the pie here. We have solutions and we have workflows focused on the entire assessor's office. Whether that is field operations, property assessment, integration processes, or data management, we have solutions for all that. So you can visit those at solutions.arcgis.com/localgovernment/land records. And again, you can try them out, you can explore more details about them, and you can see the different requirements that each one of these solutions has. Lastly, I want to point you in the direction of a very successful public engagement strategy. This is Racine County, Wisconsin. And what I'll do is I'm going to grab this link and I will put this in the chat window. So you guys can go ahead and click on that and explore some of the different things that they are doing. But this is really a great effort by the folks down in Racine County, where they are taking their GIS data, and it was a big initiative from the Tyson Fettis, as you can see up in the top right, Register of Deeds, to be able to integrate that data with other systems. So we're not talking about just your property characteristics, not just your parcel information. We're talking about all kinds of information, tax information, recorder information, registry information, things like that. And you can explore all those different applications that they have stood up if you follow that link. So with that, I would like to open it up for some questions. And make sure, guys, if you have a few minutes after the webinar, please just take a couple of those minutes and submit that survey. It's going to really help us out in cultivating this content, letting us know if this was maybe too in depth or too high level, maybe some of the different things that you want to see. We listen to those, and we want to provide you guys with as effective of information as possible. So with that, if there's any questions, you can type them into the chat box window, or that's probably going to be the most effective way at this point. And we'll
Jordan, there are a couple questions.
Okay.
Here's one for you. Can any of these solutions be deployed without Pro?
Yes. It's a much more manual process, though, and to look at it, so that there are different solutions that have some dependencies of Pro. Whether try and give you an example here, but there are some different arcade scripts that are built into some of these different solutions where you get that really nice and intuitive interface. But you can do this in a manual way too, if you'd like to.
Okay, here's another one, and I'll take this one as a follow-up after the meeting. Are there more of these classes, webinars that are being offered or already recorded that I can share with our team and members? Yeah, we record all of these. They're posted on Esri E360. It's a video site. We will make sure we follow up with you on this. I can also post that information in the Land Records Meetup window as well, but we'll follow up directly on that question. Here's a tough one, and I'll take this one too. How do you employ this in delineating flood risk in areas, determining the price values of properties they're in? I read that question as, how do you use flood risk as a parameter in valuation? That depends on the type of valuation system you're using, whether you're using market cost or income. I can take that offline also as well. That's a valuation question, and how we would use some of our spatial tools to address that. I can help you with that, but that's more of a valuation question than a straight public engagement question. Can you post a link for this recorded broadcast or others? Yep, we can post this for sure. We'll post it in the meetup, but we can also usually these links to these show up in our state and local government newsletter. So if any of you subscribe to that newsletter, you'll be getting these as well. Okay, here's always a great one. Do we have a projected launch date for adding Parcel Fabric in Pro? I will take that one as well. The core capabilities of the Parcel Fabric in Pro will be released at the user conference. However, if you're currently using the Parcel Fabric, you are enjoying some configurations done by our solutions team, some special maps and apps, and those typically lag the release of core technology. So those won't be ready for several months, but the core capabilities of managing a fabric in Pro will be there. But for most people, if you're using the fabric now, you'll probably be a bit disappointed because a lot of the capabilities that you're accustomed to will be lagging behind on that. Okay, here's another one. Since Pro, most of the templates and data models are removed. Can any of that be brought back, downloaded for my own configuration? I think that's one for you, Jordan.
Yeah, so I believe you're talking about some of those different download packages that you can go ahead and host on your web server, I assume. I can look into that. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if they have all been deprecated or not. I'm not familiar with any right now, but I will circle back with you on that.
You know, and some of those apps have been open sourced, so you can, if it's something you want to play around with, you can pull the code off of GitHub and play around with those as well, I guess. Are there any other? Okay, all right, we have another question. Okay. In valuation, sometimes public engagement helps in ascribing and determining the probable price of properties in a neighborhood. But in most cases, the influence of the public can have an impact on values. How can we use ArcGIS in reducing this? Well, what happens is when you do valuation analysis in ArcGIS, there's two main ways two main analytical functions you would use. One would be geographic weighted regression, which puts a high value on things that are close to each other and a lower value on things that are further away from each other. Not a value in the model, not a price value. So it uses location in helping determine value. The other tool is called forest-based classification, which is an AI machine learning algorithm in ArcGIS Pro that you can use and train for values. I would recommend experimenting with those to see how modeling values with those two capabilities works in your particular situation. And did we miss any questions here? So will the slides be available? Yes. Let's see. I think that's it for questions. Oh,
I think I see one at the top. The residential comp finder without showing the sales price.
Oh yeah, I answered that. But you answered that.
Oh, you did. Okay. No. Yeah. Any of the pop-ups can be configured to show or not show any particular information type. So if you want to shut that off, you can certainly do that.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. What Jordan showed, these are apps that you configure. You don't have to write code to build these. Now, here's a loaded question here. Do you have any best practices for successful integration with Cama systems? We do. The best practice is using a web services-based integration. And that would be consuming a web service into ArcGIS from Cama. And if the Cama that has to be a reasonably modern Cama. Some of the old Cama systems can't publish a service, and that's a one-way integration. A two-way integration would require a modern web service where that service can be edited and data goes back into the Cama system. So there's really two ways. There's the services integration, and then there's using a set of Python scripts for an ETL process. And we can help with that. We've done that a million times. Part of it comes down to exactly what Cama system you're using and how that needs to be accomplished. Hopefully that answered the question. I'll wait just a second to make sure that there's no follow-up. Do you have an example of two-way web service integration? I would be interested in seeing something like this. All right, do you have an answer for that one, Jordan? A two-way services integration.
Nothing that I think I can show. Let's see. We might have to take that one offline.
Okay. The what is Cama? Okay, good question. Acronyms are always difficult, especially when I look at the attendee list. We have people from all around the world on here. Cama is computer-assisted mass appraisal. It also includes the tax administration system. So there's some analytical models for helping calculate values through regression analysis, but then appended on top of the valuation system is usually a tax administration and a tax billing system. So that's what Cama means. All right, we'll let it click for another second or two, and we're coming near to the top of the hour. Well, with that, I'd certainly like to thank all of you for your time today. We know that everyone's quite busy, and we do appreciate taking an hour out of your week to spend with us. Please fill out the survey immediately following this. Those really help us. We do read these. They're very important to us on how we shape our future webinars and what we need to deliver to you. And I'd like to personally thank Jordan for going through and putting all this material together in one nice, concise spot. I'm sure this video, the video of this will be watched many times, and we'll get a link out to all of you. And please feel free to share that link with others. So with that, thank you very much, and have a good rest of your week.